Another word problem. This one, a chemist mixes distilled or pure water with a 90% solution of sulfuric acid to produce a 50% solution. If 5 liters of the distilled water is used, how much 50% solution is produced? How much of the 90% solution was used? For the mixture problems, I set up 3 containers. You can think of them as beakers in your chemistry class. In this problem, my first container or beaker contains water. My second container is the solution that the water is mixed with. So this is an acid solution. And my final container is also an acid solution, but the amount of acid decreases from the 90% to the 50%. So I'm going to call this my less acid solution. In each container, I need to figure out both an amount and a percent. So in the problem, it told me that there were 5 liters of the water used. So I have an amount here of 5 liters. Now, it also told me that the water was pure. So if the water is pure, it should not contain acid at all. So it will be 0% acid. My next thing, my acid solution, this is the one I'm mixing. So it is mixed with a 90% solution. So I know the percent. And I don't know the amount. They don't tell me that. So I'm going to leave that blank for a moment. And then they ask me about, or they tell me that we're going to produce a 50% solution. So my final container, what I end up with is 50% acid. Now I have to look at my questions because the way that the questions are asked dictates the way that I represent the amounts in the final 2 containers. The first question is how much of the 50% solution. So I'm going to let that equal my x. And so the amount of the 50% solution is x. However, they also ask me how much of the 90% solution. So I need to figure out a way to represent the 90% solution. Just like the 2 total problems, I know that the total amount is x and that 5 liters of that amount is water. So I can represent the 90% acid solution as the total minus the 1 amount, just like we did in the 2 total problems. Now, because we are taking the percent of the amount, the word of is multiplication. So we multiply in each container. So my little note to multiply. So my percent, 0, times my amount of 5. I have my plus sign, so plus. My percent as a decimal is 0.9 times my amount. Make sure to use parentheses so that you remember to distribute. And that's going to equal my percent, 50%, 0.5, moving my decimal 2, times my amount, x. Now I have an equation, and so I want to start to solve. Well, 0 times 5 is 0, so I do not need to write that in the next step of my equation. Now I need to distribute, so 0.9 times x would give me 0.9x. And then 0.9 times 5 would be minus 4.5 is going to equal 0.5x. And then I continue with the algebra, and I'll let you do that on your own and solve to get an answer. When you get the value for x, that will be the amount of the 50% solution. You then have to take that amount minus 5 to figure out the amount of the 90% solution.